and somebody always says, I gotta meet the person who had the balls to send me that letter.
Dave Brock is one of the most innovative thinkers in the world of sales. Author of the brilliant book Sales Manager Survival Guide and a blog that is nothing short of a treasure trove of information. We sat down with Dave to learn his top 4 sales books.
Book number 1, Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. And most people look at me when I talk about green eggs and ham, and they look at me and said, you're crazy. And then I said, remember, you've read it to your kids, but it's probably one of the most fundamental books on selling that I've ever seen. And if you look at it, Seuss does this whole story in 50 words. And if you look, the front end of the book is Sam pitching his product. And he keeps pitching his product, and he can't gain any interest because he doesn't understand what his customers want, and so on and so forth. And so you look at, all of a sudden there's a transformation. The back half of the book is Sam is more consultative or more discovery oriented. He says, would you like green eggs and a ham in a plane? Would you like it in a train? Would you like it in a boat? And so he starts getting these discovery oriented questions to start seeing where and how might somebody like green eggs and ham. So you see the contrast of kind of the pitching style at the beginning and how ineffective it is, and the discovery question-oriented style in back half. And it's, it's a short book. It's something, and something, if you read Stu Heineke's book, How to Get a Meeting with Anybody, is he used it as an example. As I often create a custom green eggs and ham, or I create a custom green eggs and ham prospecting letter to somebody that keeps ghosting me, and I sign it Dave I am, and I send them a copy of Green Eggs and Ham. I have measured it within an hour of them receiving it by FedEx or something else. I always get a call, and somebody always says, I've got to meet the person who had the balls to send me that letter and that book. And so it's a huge amount of fun, but it really is a great sales book. Book number 2, Mindset by Carol Dweck. I mean, this is, just one of the most fundamental books around societal organizational behavior and selling. And if, as we look at how we grow as individuals, how we grow performance in an organization, it's the difference between open and closed mindsets, and how closed mindsets limit us, how closed mindsets limit our customers, and those kinds of things. So how do we start looking at what an open mindset is? How do we start developing open mindsets ourselves and be, more receptive? If we're trying to connect with customers, we can't connect with customers in an effective way if we have a closed mindset. If we already know what the answers are, we already know what the solutions are, and we're not listening to and understanding and connecting with them. So if I look at kind of the underlying thing that impacts all of our effectiveness and all of our ability to connect impactfully with other people, whether they're within our own organization, whether they're with our customers, or whether they're within our community, it all is driven by open mindset. So this is kind of, the fundamental book that every person, but particularly every salesperson, should read and start adopting some of the principles of mindset. How to Know a Person by David Brooks. This came out maybe within the last 2 months. David Brooks is a columnist in the New York Times. He's written a huge number of books, all of which are just things that I devour and all. But what he goes through is kind of some of his personal growth in connecting with people and communicating with people. He describes himself as, despite being a journalist, a tremendous introvert, and how he has trouble connecting effectively with people, understanding who they are, what's important to them, having them understand who he is. And if I think of what we do in sales is we've lost, I think, so much of the ability to connect with each other, whether within our own organizations or with our customers. So what I like about David Brooks' book here is so much of the books that we see on connecting with people are kind of how we connect with a customer or how we connect with others. But it's really a two-way street. It's how do people reciprocate and how do they connect with us effectively so that we can start understanding who each of us are, what drives each of us, and then how we can find ways to work together and move forward on certain kinds of things. And if we don't start understanding each other in a more deep sense than we do right now, we can't make progress on anything. So it's, I want to connect with my customers and my clients in a very deep way. I want to understand more than the surface stuff. I want to understand what drives them, how they think, what their concerns are, and so on. And at the same time, I want them to understand me and what I'm trying to achieve and how we might achieve things better together. Book number 4, and this is actually, I chose this, but after I gave it to you, I thought, well, maybe I have another one. So I'll give you 2 book number 4s. The first is Sense Making. It's the power of humanities in the age of the algorithm, and it's written by a guy named Majberg. I read this a few years ago when I was doing a lot of studying on complexity and complexity theory and how we do this. And what he does is he gets kind of, what is beneath the data that we have? How do we understand, get away from just understanding data, facts, and figures to understand what they mean and how they impact people. So it kind of, again, is a lot of times when I talk to clients, they know the numbers, where our win rates are 15% or 20%. And then I ask them the question, what causes the numbers? What do you need to do to change the numbers? And they don't know how to get down underneath the data and under the numbers. And what it does is, again, it says, how does it connect to the human being and what the human being is doing to produce these kinds of outcomes? So it kind of mixes what I'll call, and part of the title is it's Sense Making, the Power of Humanities in the Age of the Algorithm, is it's how do we connect the person with what the results are being produced, and how do we look at the interplay between what the data shows us and how people create those things. So and some of the stuff that he gets into is complexity theory and how we deal with, or how we are enabled to deal with complexity very well. So he starts characterizing complexity. The kind of alternative book to that is a book called Factfulness. And Factfulness is really kind of the things of how we sometimes misinterpret and misunderstand the data, and how we let data drive us to make bad decisions, and how we need to get underneath the data, understanding what it means, and understanding kind of systems theory and systems thinking of how data interrelates to each other, and how we really understand what drives it, and that kind of thing. So those are kind of my tied 4th books for my 4 great sales books.